the physical market on the COMEX is being drained. There's little doubt about that. We're down to somewhere around 27 million ounces in the registered category. There really isn't that much registered silver available to make good on people that will stand for delivery.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and this is the Miles Franklin Weekly Special for June 13th through June 20th, 2023, while supplies last. This week we feature backdated 1-ounce silver Australian kangaroos at just $3.99 over spot per ounce. Backdated kangaroos are 4/9 fine 1-ounce silver sovereign coins of Australia. They are renowned for their purity and design. They come 25 to a tube, and with just 250 coins to a monster box, they are the most affordable monster box available, especially at just $3.99 over spot per ounce while supplies last. And finally, silver kangaroos are IRA eligible. If you'd like to learn more about a precious metals IRA, an IRA holding assets in a private depository rather than a bank or brokerage, call us, and we'll be happy to help you in that process. To order this special or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty and Finance. And back with us today is our good friend David Morgan, the silver guru and founder of themorganreport.com. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, Elijah, thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you today. I did want to discuss the Fed pause, what you think it means for the markets, and also where you think the Fed is going from here. Last week, obviously, this was the first time in 15 months that the Fed didn't raise interest rates. So your take on this?
Well, I think it was a trial balloon, kind of a market survey, if you will. I think the Fed paused to see what the reaction would be throughout the sector. What would the bond market do? What will the equity markets do? What will the metals do? How does the market take this? And it's probably not a bad strategy, actually, to see if it's overshoot or undershoot. My stance is that they're not done raising interest rates. I don't expect them to pause as they just did and then start to lower interest rates. I think there's just too much pressure on the Fed to keep the dollar strong and keep interest rates high enough that suckers will keep buying the United States debt. And so that's my take on the longer term. I also want to state that I was one of the few that way back a few years ago, when we started seeing negative interest rates in the European sector, that I and many pundits thought that the United States Federal Reserve, the Fed, would go to negative interest rates. And I said, no way. They need to keep the dollar strong. And the way to keep the dollar strong is for it to yield more or a higher, quote unquote, real yield than other currencies. And it does for the most part. I mean, we can talk about the ruble and everything else. I don't want to get in the weeds. Point is, I think there's a lot more to keeping the dollar strong than most people do. And the dollar has to be the last man standing until the new system is employed. And how easily that's going to be done is another topic. But the Cato Institute, which I belong to, in fact, I got the actual written letter that they did on their survey on how many people in the United States really wanted to have a CBDC. And there's not that many that are favorable to it.
No, when it comes to the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency, you're saying that high interest rates have a big part to play there because you need, the dollar, or you need some incentive to hold the dollar. Can you expand on that view there?
Yeah, I mean, it's, as far as I'm concerned, the bond market is a joke at this point because everyone knows mathematically it can't be paid back. So how do you extend the game? Well, you extend the game like all nation states or all currency creators. You make your currency appear to be more valuable or give an incentive to hold on to it. So you do that by raising the interest rate. So, if you look at some of the banana republics that have failed, since they don't have a real debt market like the U.S. does, they just inflate away and it becomes worthless like almost very quickly. In the U.S., since we are the debt capital of the world, all that debt has to be paid back in dollars. So if the dollar costs more meaning the yield is high, then there's more perceived value to it. More people are willing to participate and continue the game. So if we went back to zero rate interest rate policy, which I highly doubt, but I won't rule it out completely, I think that's where you'd see the dollar break. What I mean by dollar break, it's that at that point, you'd have to be almost undereducated about money at any level to understand that now we're telling you zero interest rates, money's not worth anything. It has no value. It's zero interest rate. And therefore, it's time to bail out of the dollar and get into something else. That's not a scenario I actually see happening. I think you're going to see more of this Fed Now program that's operated in July, just a couple of weeks away. It's bank to bank. It won't be individual to bank, but it could be a precursor. Some say yes, some say no. I read it. I couldn't make a strong case that it's a precursor to the, direct payment method through the Fed, but it will definitely speed up transactions bank to bank. So we're in uncharted waters, as you and I have talked about for years and years and years. The metals are still a safe haven, but in my darker moments, I think, how well have they done? And, it depends by what metric to use. I mean, when I started the silver investor, silver was under $5, inflation adjusted low on a historical basis. It was the lowest price for silver in all of recorded history. So certainly I did my best to get people in low. Not many people came on board. Yes, you remember Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, George Soros, all the billionaire class. They were in the silver market when no one else wanted it, but the millionaire class hadn't really caught on to the story yet. So coming forward, I'm probably going a little longer than you wanted. I think that there will continue to be pressure to the metals. And you asked me earlier, so I'll just take the question in my head is, what I expect short term. And really a lot of my, again, peers are looking for an explosion. I've been looking for an explosion that, at some point, but I do think there's enough metal in the system, even though it's 99% derivatives, to keep the lid on it for another few months. We hit a 3-week low in gold. Gold's off today as we're talking. Silver's at a 2-week low. It's off almost full percent as we're talking. And they just have some more work to do. The positive news is that the physical market on the COMEX is being drained. There's little doubt about that. We're down to somewhere around 27 million ounces in the registered category. And I've seen it get down in the low 30s a few times in the 20-something years I've been watching the commitment of traders and the warehouse receipts. And Ted Butler did an article on SilverSeek talking about, I think he asked the question, has manipulation ended? I don't want to misquote anybody. But he made a strong case for how much the open interest has dropped off. And all his points are valid because they're based in fact. But I had a slightly different take. I think that the open interest has dropped, which there's the fact we have to agree on. But it's due to the fact that there really isn't that much registered silver available to make good on people that will stand for delivery. And what that means is you don't want to have too much risk, which means instead of trading, 10 cars or so many, that's slang for contracts, but trading in the hundreds of contracts or 500s of contracts, you pare it down. Either you leave the market or you reduce your risk, because if someone does stand for delivery, the COMEX cannot default because by their rules, they can settle in cash. But if they did that, especially to a big player, if it wasn't some, onesie, twosie like me standing for a contract or two or whatever, the CFTC blows you off and gives you a letter, says, here's your check. You don't have the rules say we can pay you off. But if that were to happen to somebody like a Samsung or a Tesla or Apple or even it's a main manufacturer that manufactures solar panels, for example, any of those, I think, would mitigate into the silver markets community really, really quickly. And I think that the silver bugs would absolutely take advantage of it and take action, knowing that the COMEX is having issues with their inventory supply.
Now, one of the things that we've seen recently is that we're seeing a lot more physical delivery off the exchanges, and these exchanges weren't necessarily always meant for a delivery exchange. Essentially, it was mainly just for hedging. Can you share with the viewers kind of how that has changed and what that means for the market going forward?
Well, this is conjecture, but let's say a highly educated guess. I look at the COMEX particularly, and the LBMA to a lesser degree as being car dealerships that display all the new cars. They're there as a big facility, big market maker. But yet what they really have is they have silver on display. They don't really facilitate transactions, as you just said, Elijah, and that's key. And so when you start going into the LBMA, or you take silver off the SLV or PSLV or whatever. In other words, if you start taking silver primarily from the LBMA and or the COMEX, that's the last resort. That's the place of last resort. Anyone that's in the silver business, even on the retail side, but particularly on the industrial side, goes direct. They go direct with a refiner or a smelter or somebody that's a direct ship. They don't need to ship a bar to the COMEX to ship it back to, a mint. So there's very little silver that goes on the shelves other than what can only be sold on the spot market. The rest of it's sold in various places, jewelries, and of course, all kinds of industrial applications. So the point is, it's drying up. It's drying up before our eyes. And if they had any way to hide it, they would. They can't. And so they're showing us that, the registered category keeps showing them the way. The thing that's surprising to me, I guess, this time is the last couple of times I recall the 32, 33 million ounces. It was there for a little while, like a few weeks, to the best of my memory. And then it started building back up. And then, of course, I always ask the question, well, where's that silver coming from? But this time it just keeps going down, down, down. I mean, it fluctuates, but mostly the trend is still down. And there doesn't seem to be any influx. So I think between what's needed for the semiconductor industry, what's needed for the solar panel industry, what's needed for the industrial use on aggregate, has got silver in a pretty tight position. And what we really need is another influx of, committed precious metals people to buy. And I think that's coming in a different way than most people do. And I think that's going to be through the advent of the cryptocurrency world. There's a lot of silver and gold backed cryptos out there, and there'll be more. And I think the only issue that's holding it back now is awareness. I think the awareness of gold is the ultimate stable coin. I mean, think about it. An ounce of gold is the same mass anywhere in the universe. That's stability. The US dollar, which is what's called the stable coin on most of these platforms, it's a fiat currency that's going downhill over time. So if you want a standard, if you really want a stable something, that's what your stable coin would be. And that's kind of ironic because we talk about coin. And of course, gold is considered, a lot of coinage in gold. So there's a lot ahead of us. And I think a lot of it is not only to be determined, but I think a lot of the powers that be that are kind of smug and arrogant on, where they're going to push the next system, maybe a little ahead of themselves because there is a lot of resistance to what's happening.
And looking at towards the end of the year, what is your perspective on where metals will be? Because it seems like, we're seeing, a pause by the Fed, but you're saying that interest rates still have higher to go. Can you kind of share with the viewers where you see them heading?
They're high. They're going higher. They're going higher if interest rates go up. They're going higher if interest rates go down. They're going higher if interest rates just pause and stay paused for a long time. The metals are the only way out at the end game. I mean, there's exceptions. I mean, there's certain businesses and there's, foodstuffs and there's other things. But when it comes to on the financial or monetary side, it gets to be one place to run. And that's run out of stocks, run out of bonds, run out of, limited partnerships, run out of ETFs and run into the metal. And that won't happen to the level that it happened in the past as far as awareness. I think there's a lot more awareness in my generation of why people run into metals. They understood fiat collapses, currency collapses. Today, that's not true. But people also have social media, so there's a lot of monkey see, monkey do. And when somebody's influencer says something about why precious metals are key at this point in time, and they never heard that story before, they will likely follow on. So I still think by the end of the year, you'll have stronger prices. I think it's going to be the last quarter of this year. I think it's almost inevitable that there will be some type of black swan event between now and then. Could be, could be grid down in some areas. It could be a computer hack at a money center. It could be another crypto conundrum. There's several things out there. But the main thing is the shift has gone to a pause on the precious metals investors. They're like, I'm happy, I've got enough. I don't need to buy anymore. I'm hedged. I don't need more. And that's the place to be. I mean, I've never advocated 100% in, but I have advocated everybody owns some. And we're far from that point, Elijah. It's very, very far from everybody. And once the window closes, and it's very difficult to get anything, at least at a reasonable price, that's when the frenzy will actually get into probably a double parabolic. I mean, there's no such thing as a double parabolic, but what it insinuates is that buying, it just goes higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. Eventually it'll burn out. But at that point, if it gets to that point, and I think it will be a key that the end is nigh. In other words, the new system better be implemented quickly because no one's trusting the dollar anymore in terms of gold price.
And you mentioned gold-backed cryptocurrencies is something that could emerge. I did want to get, I really like talking with you about kind of how we can preserve our liberty in this and preserve our freedom, because it's important whenever these kinds of crises hit. The government always steps in. You mentioned how, we're probably going to be entering a new currency system, possibly central bank digital currency. How do people protect against this? Your view on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, first of all, as you know, and you know me well, I mean, the number one advocacy is freedom. As you know, I made that video about 10 years ago, and it started with brother John F., and it showed Bernanke Ron Paul showing a silver coin to Bernanke. But the second half of that video, I talk about, it doesn't matter how much money you've got, real money, gold, silver, if you lose your freedom, if you lose your ability to go where you want to go, say what you want to say, buy what you want to buy, travel where you want to travel. If you lose that, if you lost your freedom, it doesn't matter how much honest money. And I'm just adding on to that, Elijah. I think there will be absolute resistance on the pushback, whether it will go into where there's gold and silver-based cryptos and they run as a parallel to the new system. That's a possibility. In fact, I'm very hopeful, but I'm not overly optimistic that the powers that be wouldn't try to, muddy the waters in that realm. We don't know. I do think that, face-to-face transactions cannot be stopped. So there'll always be what's called a black market, which is really a free market metals. And just taking a digression from there, Elijah, there's a movie years ago called Looper, Looper. And in that science fiction movie, the assassins are paid off in gold and silver. But the point is that all free market activities in that era, this is in the future, are done primarily with silver. So in other words, you've got your script from the authorities, but if you want to go to a certain club or go to a certain location or visit somebody or whatever, you have to pass through the gate, and the gate requires payment in silver. So kind of interesting. I digress to make the point that you can outlaw it, you can smash it down, you can penalize it, you can do all kinds of things, but it will walk on majestically because people will do what's in their own self-interest, especially during trying times. And if you've got the advantage of buying 2 loaves of bread for half an ounce of silver, and then people don't get mad at the price, just give me the idea, whatever, 1/10 of an ounce of silver, or the fiat of the realm, most people will start using real money, and you have an advantage there. It's true, that can be proven already in Argentina, Venezuela, Turkey. I mean, any places that had severe inflation, if you have precious metals, 99% of the time you're better off.
Fantastic. Well, David Morgan, we really appreciate your time today. And I think, as you mentioned, having precious metals is better than not having it. And a lot of people are still, not awakened to that reality there. If our viewers are interested in learning more about precious metals or learning more about your work, where can they find you?
Yeah, the best place to go is the main landing page, themorganreport.com. We dropped the 60-day money-back guarantee to 30-day free trial. And I've got a new speculative silver and lithium company that I'll be writing about in the next report. So basically what I'm saying is anyone that wants that stock pick can get it for free by going to themorganreport.com and signing up for the premium service, and then get the pick. And if you want to just bow out and have that speculative pick, that's fine. Exciting times. It's trying times as well, but it's not over. The fat lady hasn't sung, and there's a lot of pushback into the powers that be and their thoughts on the coming currency. So we'll see.
Fantastic. David, once again, thank you so much for your time, as always, and God bless.
God bless you.
Miles Franklin Precious Metals is one of America's oldest and most trusted bullion dealers. Miles Franklin is A+ rated and accredited by the Better Business Bureau, licensed and bonded, and has 0 complaints ever registered. Here at Liberty and Finance, we are licensed brokers with Miles Franklin. To order, simply call us, discuss your needs, and we can let you know our live inventory, prices, and availability, and lock in your order over the phone. Once your order is locked, the price is held for you regardless of market fluctuations, and the metals are reserved for you awaiting your settled payment. Within 1 business day of ordering, you will receive an email invoice detailing the order and payment instructions. Miles Franklin accepts payments by bank wire, ACH or electronic check, money order, check mailed priority mail, and cryptocurrency. The fastest forms of payment are bank wire and cryptocurrency. Upon settled payment, metals will ship out within 3 to 5 business days. You will receive tracking information via email. Domestic shipping charges are $15 for any order under 500 ounces of silver or 10 ounces of gold. For orders larger than that, domestic shipping is free. The package will be boxed, fully insured, and labeled discreetly, with no indication of the contents inside. For your privacy, the name Miles Franklin will not even be on the package. To talk to myself, Kaiser, my brother Elijah, or my father Dunnigan, call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237.